The widely accepted symbol of autism is a puzzle piece. In many ways, autism is a mystery. We do not yet know what causes autism or how to cure it, but through the hard work of parents, educators, and researchers, some of the pieces have been put together. Here are some of the facts we do know about autism. It is a fairly common disorder. The rate of autism is now at 1 in 100 people, and this number is fairly consistent around the world. In the United States, there are over 1.5 million people with autism. Autism also affects more boys than girls. About 4 times as many boys have autism as compared to girls. Although autism is a very complex disorder, we do know several things. First, autism is a developmental disability. This means that autism is present and usually diagnosed in the early years of life, before age 3. Second, autism is a neurological disorder. Scientific studies have shown that the brains of people with autism look and function differently than the brains of typically developing individuals. Many years ago, people thought that being an emotionally detached parent could cause autism. We now know this is not true, and that the causes of autism are linked to disorder in the brain. Third, autism is a spectrum disorder. There are some characteristics that all people with autism share, but how severely these characteristics affect their life can vary widely. You may hear autism referred to as ASD, or autism spectrum disorder. Let's take a look at the core deficits of autism and then at the spectrum of characteristics. Diagnosing autism is done through careful observation of behavior. There are no brain tests or medical tests to diagnose autism. When autism is suspected, skilled professionals look at how individuals respond to certain activities and situations. All people that are diagnosed with autism have difficulties in 3 areas. We call these the core deficits of autism. One area of deficit is social interaction. People with autism have difficulty understanding social rules, engaging in social situations, and making and keeping friends. The second deficit area for people with autism is communication. Both receptive and expressive communication are impaired. Receptive communication is understanding language that is shared with you, and expressive language is producing language to share with someone else. The third area of difficulty is behavior. People with autism may have behaviors that are very inflexible, meaning they do not like changes. They may also have narrow interests, specific topics that they enjoy thinking or talking about. If a person has difficulties in these 3 areas, it can lead to a diagnosis of autism. If you have concerns about a child's development, a visit to the Centers for Disease Control website below has information about early detection of autism. Because autism is a spectrum disorder, no 2 people with autism are alike. Let's look at some of the characteristics of people with autism within the context of a spectrum. People with autism can have wide variations in their cognitive levels, or IQ. Some people with autism have severe cognitive delays, which means that their ability to learn new and higher level concepts is limited. Other people with autism may have IQs in the normal or above average range. There are brilliant scientists and artists who also have autism. It is often difficult to accurately assess the cognitive levels of people with autism because their nonverbal performance is usually higher than their verbal skills. The communication of people with autism can fall anywhere from nonverbal, meaning no expressive spoken language, to highly verbal. Even those with strong verbal skills have difficulty with social language and abstract concepts. People with autism may also have large vocabularies, but difficulty with comprehension and meaning. Individuals with autism with no form of spoken communication or impaired verbal skills need other tools in order to communicate. They may use objects, pictures, or written words to help them. Here, a 3-year-old nonverbal child with autism is using objects to communicate. He is exchanging a Lego to tell his mother he wants more in order to finish putting the Lego board together. His father is behind him as a communication coach to help him complete the communication. Some people with autism may also use pictures or written words to communicate. People with autism that are very verbal may have a lot of language, but may not always know the right things to say. They may say things that are inappropriate or hurtful, but not mean them. They may also talk a lot, but not give other people opportunities to talk. And they may not always have meaning behind what they are saying. Take the example of a young man with autism who is 12 years old and has memorized all the safety rules to ride his bike around the block by himself. When someone asked him what the safety rules are, he said, "Never talk to strangers." A therapist brought him over to the window and there was a woman waiting for a bus. The therapist asked, "Is that a stranger?" The young man with autism responded, "No." Then the therapist asked if a man walking down the street was a stranger. The young man again responded, "No." He knew the rule, but did not understand the meaning of the word stranger. Socially, people with autism have challenges interacting with other people. Some people with autism prefer to be alone and are said to be aloof. Other people with autism prefer to be around other people, but are noted to be active but odd. The ways in which they interact are different and sometimes inappropriate. These individuals need assistance in understanding and developing better social skills. Following the rules and playing games like tag and board games may be difficult for people with autism. Individualizing activities and adding more structure are often useful strategies to help with social interactions. Here, a young girl with autism is learning to take turns by playing a game that was created just for her. She and her sister are taking turns passing a basket back and forth. On a turn, they take a card, match it to a pocket, and then pass the basket to the other player. The instructions of the game are clear, and the end of the game is apparent. When all the cards are matched, the game is over. As you can see, the adaptations and structure of the game help the young girl with autism to play successfully. These strategies are usually helpful in teaching people with autism social skills. Another area to consider is the motor skills of people with autism. There are two types of motor skills, gross motor and fine motor. Gross motor includes things like walking, running, jumping, etc. Some people with autism may be somewhat clumsy or awkward in these activities, while others are extremely agile and can be great at sports. Examples of fine motor activities are writing, tying shoes, using a fork, etc. Some people with autism are uncoordinated and have a great deal of trouble with these types of activities, while others are very coordinated. It is also important to take into account the sensory experiences of people with autism. Some individuals on the spectrum may experience the five senses, hearing, smell, touch, taste, and sight, differently than people who are typically developing. Some people with autism are hyposensitive, which means that they do not get enough sensory input. An example of this is a person with autism who is running on the playground, falls and hits her head, and then gets up and keeps running without showing any signs of pain. At the other end of the sensory spectrum are individuals who are hypersensitive, meaning they get too much sensory input. An example of a young boy with autism who was hypersensitive had severe tantrums, yelling and screaming when the refrigerator motor turned on in his house. A sound that seems very quiet to most people seemed very loud and painful to him. Loud, busy places like gymnasiums and cafeterias may be especially difficult for people with autism. The final area to consider is behavior. Figuring out the behavior of people with autism can often be challenging. Some people with autism are extremely rigid in their behavior. This means they like to do the same activities in the same way time after time. This young boy with autism likes to line up toys. This is the only way he knows how to play with them, and will only play with them in this way. Some people with autism do not like changes. For this individual, a change needed to be made to his school schedule because there was an assembly and he could not go to gym class. The teachers used a red marker to indicate the change. Changes in schedules can be very disruptive for people with autism, and it is important to have a consistent and reliable routine to help people with autism cope with these changes. When we look at all of these areas together, it is clear that autism defies generalization. There is wide variability in regards to people with autism and their skill levels and abilities. Despite all the challenges that autism presents, individuals on the spectrum have enormous potential to learn new things, make friends, and be productive members of society. We have seen that people with autism are unique individuals. One way that we can be respectful is by using person-first language. People with autism are just that. Individuals with specific challenges. We refer to them as individuals with autism or individuals with ASD, not as autistic. Autism is just a part of who they are. It does not define them wholly. People with autism are wonderful individuals that can be tremendously successful when they are given support and friendship. The Autism Program is a great resource in Illinois for information and services. Please visit our website at www.theautismprogram.org and feel free to contact us with any questions or feedback. On behalf of the Autism Program of Illinois, thank you for taking the time to learn more about autism. We sincerely believe that more understanding and support of autism will make the world a better place for everyone.